Hey everyone, what is going on? I got a few questions on the Stratus Facebook page about the automatic A604 transmission and mods that you can do to do them. I'm going to leave a bunch of links down below, but we're going to go over some of the easy performance stuff that you can do to like upgrade it a little bit. So the first thing is if your car did not come with the auto stick feature, and that is, the shifter being able to switch gears back and forth. You can retrofit that into your car. To do that, because these transmissions are electronic, you need to find a car with the auto stick, grab the transmission ECU, and you'll need the cluster so that you can have the little 1, 2, 3, 4, and you'll need the shifter mechanism itself because that has the switch in there. You don't actually need all that stuff. You basically only need the transmission computer. And I've seen videos of a guy doing it to a Caravan, and he wired up to the cruise control switches so he could go through and select the 4 gears. So, and I have, the paddle shifters. So that is a huge upgrade. The next, which I'm going to be covering eventually, and probably the next video I want to do it, is you can swap the final drive gears. So if you have a 2.5 or 2.4, you can go and grab the gears from a 2-liter automatic because they'll give you a 4.08 final drive ratio versus a 3.91, I want to say. And basically, these are the final drive gears. We'll go over swapping that in a whole other video. But if you're out looking for them, you can pull the cover plate off. And it's a 46 and 50 gear is what you're looking for to get that ratio. And to get to the gear, let me see if I can show you real quick. It is just this little plate here. It's a bunch of probably 10 millimeter screws, and then some larger sizes, which I'll go over when I do that swap. But that would be the next big performance upgrade. Another one is these transmissions, you gotta use the right fluid. You can't use any of the trick shift stuff or any of those additives because it'll grenade that transmission. These the clutch packs and stuff are kind of made to slip a little bit. So any of those additives will ruin it. You gotta use the Mopar transmission fluid for it. And obviously if you just get if you change the filter, reseal the pan and do fresh fluid, I mean, this is still my original transmission, even with the 3-liter in it. So it makes a huge difference. Also, if you plan on, racing like I do, you got to keep that thing cool. So you look down in here, you'll see a nice big, is that an 8-row? Yeah, I got an 8-row B&M tranny cooler in here. Basically, the factory tranny cooler, I don't know if you can see it, it's built into the radiator, is where the factory one is. So what I did is I had gotten a new radiator when we were doing the engine crap, and I decided just to get the big add-on B&M and run it, just don't even use the one that's built in, just use the B&M, and it's worked really good so far. Another upgrade is obviously, without going into full depth and having someone putting a shift kit into it or different torque converter, another thing is, since this is a computer controlled transmission and it wasn't really marketed as a performance sedan, the transmission and the ECU talk to each other. And basically there is a little feature, it's different for both cars. For the V6, there is a yellow and green wire that runs over. It's called the torque management. Basically what that does is when the transmission wants to shift, it all happens very quickly, When the transmission wants to shift, it tells the engine computer. The engine computer cuts timing and fuel to make the shift nice and smooth. But if you clip that wire, the transmission will not cut fuel, will not cut timing, and just shift. And I've never really had an issue with it. Someone tried to run a switch, a lighted switch, so they can switch it back and forth. I put a switch on originally just so I could feel the difference. There is a difference. It makes the shift feel quicker. Never really recorded it. But you can do that. If you run a lighted switch, which I don't recommend, it will cause the ECU to have a weird ground and go into limp mode. But basically, if you take this little, I think it's like an 8mm off, pull this harness out, there's a wire that, I don't remember which side it's on. I'll post the whole link on how to do it. It's been several years since I did it. But there is a wire, I want to say it's this front one that's broken because I think that's why it was off, that you just snip. I can't remember which one it is, and I don't want to tell you the wrong one. So, but doing that, I think actually it's in here. It's in this side is where I cut it. But if you pull this off, pull these tabs off, depending on if you have the 4-cylinder or the V6, it's a different color wire. I'll post the whole how-to. When you snip that, it doesn't do that management feature anymore. And yeah, that makes it, a bunch of people called it the 1-2 bump because it gave you a little jolt. You know, it probably shifts half a second faster or something, but all that little stuff helps. Especially if you're in the drag racing. A lot of the guys back in the day said, you know, when it would cut fuel, their nitrous would cut off, you know, all sorts of weird stuff like that. But those are some quick little upgrades you can do to the transmission that are basically kind of bolt-on. And I will post all the links down below that talk about the ratios and torque management and, you know, swapping in the auto stick feature. But other than that, those are just some really quick upgrades. I hope that answers some people's questions. And just always use the recommended fluid. Don't try to use trick shift or any of that stuff, or stop slip, any of that, because that is very bad to use in here. I actually, since this car, the transmission has over 100,000 miles on it, it was my daily, there was a time where it didn't want to go into reverse or drive when it was cold. I did a transmission flush on it. I had, you know, place pay for it. And they were like, oh, second, third gear is starting to slip. It's going bad. Ever since that transmission flush, I've never had that issue again. And then I did another flush myself when we swapped the engine. So I would recommend always keeping the right fluid in there, keeping it cool, do a couple little bolt-ons, and you can have a nice, quick accelerating. And if anyone out there is interested in hypermiling, I'll cover this in a gear video as well. The 4th gen 3.8 Caravan has a higher gear ratio than the average transmission. Don't know what that is, but if you're into hypermiling and you drive a lot of highways, might want to grab that gear set and throw in there so you can get better fuel economy. So hope this video was quick and informative, and if anyone has any questions, drop them below. And just want to say one last thing. I don't know why people hate this transmission so much. I've beaten the crap out of it. It works flawlessly if you take care of it, just like everything else. So, until next time.